Audi have just revealed the R26, and out of all the 2026 liveries we've seen so far, this one has triggered a very specific reaction. This looks expensive. The combination of titanium silver, lava red accents, and the large four rings branding immediately sets it apart from a grid still dominated by white, blue, and dark color schemes. Fans and media alike have described it as elegant, aggressive, premium, striking, and clean. Not because it's flashy, but because the proportions simply work on camera, in renders, and almost certainly in on-track footage. Audi clearly don't want to look like a new team finding its feet. They want to look like a major manufacturer from day one. And that's reflected in how the silver metallic flows across the nose and cockpit before transitioning into carbon black at the rear, with red accents used sparingly but purposefully to reinforce Audi's motorsport identity. This creates a strong contrast to Haas Toyota's predominantly white approach, Red Bull's heritage-led design language, and Cadillac's clean but conservative monochrome look. What's interesting is that both Nico Hülkenberg and Gabriel Bortoleto have described the livery as clean, sharp, and exactly what an Audi should look like in Formula One, suggesting this isn't just about branding. It's about how the drivers themselves feel, represented by the car they're driving. But the real question is this: is the Audi R26 genuinely the best-looking livery of 2026 so far? Or does it simply stand out because it arrives at a moment when most rivals are playing it safe? Stick around until the end to find out. And if you enjoy this kind of analysis, don't forget to subscribe. That opening reaction to the Audi R26 says a lot about what Audi are trying to achieve with their Formula One debut. This isn't a livery that feels like a placeholder or a safe transitional design. It looks deliberate, calculated, and very much aligned with how Audi want to position themselves as a full works constructor and power unit manufacturer. As Audi CEO Gernot Döllner put it at the launch in Berlin, Formula One is the most demanding stage in motorsport, and we are here not just to compete, but to define the future of Vorsprung durch Technik. That ambition is reflected directly in the R26's visual identity. The foundation of the design is the titanium silver finish across the nose and forward bodywork. It's not a flat gray, but a metallic tone that reflects light sharply, especially under studio and trackside conditions. Audi have long associated silver with their endurance racing heritage, and this connection is intentional. But the design isn't nostalgic. The way the silver transitions into carbon black over the engine cover and rear bodywork creates a tapered, aggressive stance, visually pulling attention toward the diffuser and rear wing. The lava red accents on the side pods and airbox are restrained but precise, adding motorsport energy without cluttering the design. This balance between restraint and impact explains why so many observers have described the livery as both premium and aggressive. At the Berlin launch, Mattia Binotto, head of the Audi F1 project, described the team's design philosophy as clear, technical, intelligent, and emotional, and those words translate cleanly onto the car. The exposed carbon contrasts with the metallic silver to create a technical feel, while the red accents inject emotion without overpowering the structure of the design. It's a livery that looks engineered rather than decorated. The four rings branding plays a central role in that perception. The logos are larger than what we usually see on modern F1 cars, placed prominently on the nose, side pods, and rear wing. This isn't subtle brand placement, it's deliberate positioning. Audi want instant recognizability, even in brief broadcast shots or compressed social media clips. In a grid where color schemes increasingly converge, Audi have prioritized clarity over understatement, and crucially, they've achieved that without making the car look busy or sponsor-heavy. The drivers' reactions reinforce that this isn't simply a marketing exercise. Nico Hülkenberg described the livery as sharp and very Audi, while Gabriel Bortoleto said it looked clean, modern, and fast even when it's standing still. Those comments matter because they speak to how the car makes its drivers feel about the project itself. This is Audi's first season in Formula One as a full works team, but visually, the R26 doesn't project uncertainty or experimentation. It projects confidence. That confidence stands out even more when you compare Audi's approach to what their rivals have done for 2026. Haas Toyota have opted for a predominantly white livery, with bold red accents reflecting Toyota Gazoo Racing's branding. It's clean, aggressive, and clearly an upgrade from Haas's previous identity, but it also feels relatively conservative in a grid that already features several light-colored cars. Red Bull, meanwhile, have leaned heavily into heritage, bringing back a glossy white base and blue detailing that nods to their early 2000s designs and their Ford partnership. It's visually striking and nostalgic, but unmistakably Red Bull, an evolution rather than a reinvention. Cadillac, by contrast, have gone in the direction of minimalism, favoring a monochrome palette that looks disciplined and professional but deliberately understated. It's a livery that feels safe and corporate rather than bold or emotive. Against that backdrop, Audi's silver-red-black combination lands in a distinctive middle ground. It's more expressive than Cadillac, more contemporary than Red Bull's heritage look, and more premium feeling than Haas's clean but functional design. That positioning helps explain why Audi's livery has dominated early conversations around 2026 aesthetics. From a broadcast and thumbnail perspective, Audi's design is especially effective. Silver against carbon black creates natural contrast, while the red accents act as visual anchors on the side pods and airbox, where cameras tend to linger. In split-screen comparisons, Audi versus Haas, Audi versus Red Bull, Audi versus Cadillac, the R26 often draws the eye first, not because it's brighter, but because its color blocks are clearer and more structured. That's why so many fans have called it striking and premium almost immediately, even before seeing it in motion. There's also a deeper strategic layer here. Audi aren't just unveiling a race car, they're unveiling a long-term identity in Formula One. As Jonathan Wheatley, Audi's team principal, said at the launch, "This car is the physical embodiment of thousands of hours of hard work across our facilities. Today is day one of a long journey. Our mission is to embed a championship DNA into every fiber of this team." That idea of championship DNA isn't just about engineering processes or organizational culture. It's also about perception. Teams that look like frontrunners are often treated as frontrunners long before the stopwatch confirms it, and Audi's livery places them visually closer to the established manufacturers than to traditional midfield outfits. That perception is particularly important in a regulation reset year like 2026, when expectations are fluid and narratives form quickly. Audi have been clear that 2026 is a challenger year rather than a title push, with their stated long-term aim being championship contention by 2030. But the R26 doesn't look like a transitional design. It looks complete. That alone subtly elevates expectations, even if Audi themselves are managing them carefully. This is where the contrast with Haas becomes instructive. Haas Toyota's livery is a strong visual upgrade, cleaner, more assertive, and clearly aligned with Toyota's motorsport branding. But it still reads as functional rather than aspirational. Red Bull's heritage design reinforces continuity and dominance by referencing their past. Cadillac's monochrome look signals seriousness and discipline. Audi's R26, however, signals intent. It looks like a car designed to sit comfortably alongside Mercedes' Silver Era or Ferrari's Red Identity, not because it imitates them, but because it adopts the same philosophy of unmistakable visual ownership. Sponsor integration strengthens that impression. Revolut, Audi's title partner, features prominently on the side pods and front wing, but without disrupting the flow of the design. The branding feels integrated rather than imposed, maintaining the clean structure of the livery. At the launch, Revolut's Chief Growth and Marketing Officer, Antoine Linnell, described the partnership as aligning two brands that challenge established giants, and visually, that synergy comes through. The sponsor presence reinforces rather than competes with Audi's identity. There's also a subtle endurance racing influence in the R26's color language. The silver carbon red palette recalls Audi's Le Mans prototypes and DTM machines, but updated for modern F1 proportions and surfaces. This isn't accidental. Audi's technical structure, power unit development in Neuburg, chassis in Hinwil, and the new technical center in Bicester reflects a fully integrated works operation, and the livery mirrors that coherence. As Mattia Binotto said, Audi have spent years building not just a power unit, but a technical organization that binds our chassis development in Hinwil and Bicester. The R26 looks like the visual output of that organizational integration. Driver feedback adds weight to that interpretation. Hülkenberg's description of the car as exactly what an Audi should look like in Formula One suggests that internally, the design has passed a test of authenticity, not just aesthetics. Bortoledo's remark that it looks fast even when standing still touches on a crucial aspect of motorsport design psychology: perceived speed. Certain color transitions and contrasts create the illusion of motion even in static images, and the R26 achieves that through its forward-weighted silver nose and darkened rear, visually pulling the eye backward and reinforcing a sense of acceleration. That matters because fans often form emotional connections to cars before they form opinions about lap times. Liveries become symbols of eras, rivalries, and trajectories, upward or downward. Audi's R26 doesn't yet have sporting history attached to it, but visually, it looks ready to carry one. It doesn't feel like a one-season experiment or a placeholder awaiting refinement. It feels like the first chapter of a long-term visual identity, which aligns neatly with Audi's ambition to become championship contenders by the end of the decade. Of course, there's risk embedded in that confidence. A livery that looks this premium raises expectations. If Audi struggle early in 2026, the contrast between visual promise and on-track performance could feel sharper than for teams whose designs are more conservative. Red Bull can afford familiarity because they have trophies to back it up. Haas can afford functionality because expectations are lower. Audi, by choosing one of the most striking liveries on the grid, are implicitly positioning themselves closer to the front of the narrative, even if not yet the front of the grid. Still, it's a calculated risk. In a field where many liveries blur into similar palettes, Audi have given themselves something that stands out instantly in every frame, every highlight reel, and every thumbnail. In an era where attention is fragmented across platforms, that visibility has real value. The R26 isn't just a racing machine, it's a branding asset, and one that's already working before the car has even turned a competitive lap. When you look at the 2026 grid as a whole, what Audi have achieved is rare. They've produced a livery that satisfies hardcore fans who value heritage and discipline, casual viewers who respond to bold contrast and recognizability, and corporate stakeholders who want something premium and unmistakably on-brand. That balance is difficult to strike, especially for a debuting works team under new regulations. So when people ask whether the Audi R26 is the best-looking livery of 2026 so far, the answer isn't just about taste, it's about context. Against Haas's clean but familiar white-red, Red Bull's nostalgic heritage design, and Cadillac's disciplined monochrome approach, Audi's silver-red-black composition feels the most contemporary, the most intentional, and the most aligned with a long-term brand strategy.